and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. As you can see, we are joined, as always, by the exiled dub Tommy Lyons from his yawl base. And as an added bonus this week, we have the Joe Show. Joe Sheahan joining us. He's home, he's back in Limerick, and all is right in the world, balanced. And we're going to look back now at the opening round heats of the willwego.com Irish St. Ledger. Of course, we'll also be looking back at the opening round heats of the Bar 1 Irish Sprint Cup. There was some fantastic action at Shelbourne Park, and we'll also give a mention to Curraheen Park. So let's get straight into it. For the next hour, it's going to be all dogs, dogs, dogs. Joe Sheahan, good to see you. A great start to the Limerick Ledger. I think from the outset, it is worth pointing out, perhaps not the strongest entry we've seen over the last few years, but I think when it gets down to the last 24, 48, it'll be pretty hot. The action to the right, it was somewhat similar to how we've seen the Limerick Ledger in the previous years, where you have one or two standout runs, but then the rest are sort of, there's not an awful lot between them. The class really does start to prevail when it comes sort of 2-3 rounds in, but there were some sensational runs.
It was a glorious evening in Limerick on Saturday. The sun was shining. It was a great atmosphere around. And I guess selfishly, I'm really, really happy that the Ledger is on a bit earlier this year. I know some people might disagree with me, but the fact that it's on in July and I was able to get home, fantastic. And it was a great buzz around Limerick track on Saturday. Wonderful to see. Really, really good runs. Buckley was on fire there with Unanimous Panther and Superfast Gordon winning back-to-back Heat 8 and Heat 9. Some really nice runs. And something I was saying there a while ago to Orla, it was great to see the young people doing so well in Limerick. 17-year-old Evan McAuliffe brings Drumbeg Rio, qualifies 3 dogs into the next week. That's fantastic. And he's not just a name on a race card. This is a young man who's out feeding his dogs, galloping his dogs, doing all the hard work. Winner in 29.65. And young Dan O'Reilly with Knocking Dazzler winning in 29.72. Fantastic run. Wonderful to see. And there's so many good news stories in Greyhound racing at the minute. And particularly with young people doing so well in the game. And I was really, really had my heart warmed to see that in Limerick the other night.
Says old man Joe, Tommy.
Good to see Joe back anyway, and back involved.
It's where you'd share Joe was 65 years of age, about to take retirement the way he's talking.
I've no grey hairs like you, yeah.
I'm not even sure he's half my age.
If I had your money, I could retire.
Tommy, good start to the Ledger. Pat Buckley did start with a bang. Unanimous Panther. Actually, we didn't get a chance last week. We were off. He finished third in the Dundalk International, but completely fluffed his lines on that occasion. I thought ran a hell of a race in defeat. He had been a fantastic winner of the Produce Stakes on the night itself, and I just seem to think he's a dog that's continued to improve. Yes, he has a little bit of age in his side, like he's gone 2 years of age, but it was a hell of a run the other evening.
Yeah, it was. If he could break like that every night, he'd be a dog that could go to a Derby final or close to it. His problem is that what happened in Dundalk wasn't a one-off. Like even in the night of the Produce Stakes final, he didn't fly out of the boxes. But the other night he did and was utterly dominant and looked like a dog right out of the top drawer the other night. It's just that we get that every single night? I don't think we do. He's a dog I like quite a lot, but I just from a punting perspective, if you're looking long term into a competition like a Ledger or like a Derby, you're probably thinking there's going to be a night when he might have a tricky little draw, and will he break like that? If he does, he's a contender. He's a proper contender. I asked somebody the other day actually somebody who does the clocks in Limerick. I asked them last week in Killarney. I was just looking from an anti-post perspective, and I said, "Will Unanimous Panther ever win a Ledger?" And he was kind of going, "Don't think so. Don't think he's that type of dog." And the more I look at it, I kind of agree. In a way, but but I'm encouraged by that. But it was a funny start to the Ledger. I watched Knocking Dazzler initially, and I thought, yeah, that's fine. That's an okay run. And then I watched it a second and third time and went, wow, that's a lot better than the 29.72 on the clock suggests as well. So I think maybe we learned quite a bit from the dogs in the first round, and maybe Unanimous Panther can go and prove me wrong and prove that man wrong as well, and go and win Ledger. I'm not sure at the moment, but I was impressed by the run. As I said to you, it's all about whether he can do that every night. Now, the 29.34 was the best run of the night, but there were a couple of other dogs who did fast runs who also got into a little bit of trouble in doing fast runs as well. So it's still wide open. I wouldn't be looking at the first round heats and going, yeah, there's a dog that has to be 5-1 to win the Ledger. I don't think there's a standout that way.
The different timing of the Ledger, the fact that it's coming before the Derby and whatnot, it probably has affected the entry. There's no question. There's some big names missing. A lot of the younger dogs have sidestepped it with maybe keeping themselves fresh enough for, you know, perhaps even a Laurels or a Derby challenge in mind. But it will get pretty heated pretty quickly, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to look at it. It will, of course. I mean, you can't look at a heat winner and go, yeah, well, he's not great. Like, I mean, if you look at heat winners alone, you've got 11 good dogs. You've got a lot of dogs that were touched off in good time, was beaten in a heat. You have Clonbrien Treaty reigning champ was beaten in a heat. You've got a lot of good dogs there. You got the bones of a really, really strong quarterfinal, semi-final, and final. So I wouldn't be running it down just yet. And there's plenty of good dogs in there.
No, I don't think anyone's running it down. It's just a case of it's going to be an evolving competition rather than it's not
Yeah,
right there in front of you as we speak, but
yeah.
it will get there pretty sharpish. Let's race through the heats. We don't have an awful lot of time, of course. And the opening heat, Airfield Katie for Michael O'Mara, Joe. This was a fine display. She's lightly raced. She's only a June 22. This was 3 wins from 7 starts, led before the opening corner. 5:39, 17:44, 29:87. Easy as you like. I was very impressed, and she's clearly going the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. I must give a mention to his Keaton owners from the same town as me, the Walsh family. Fantastic victory, and the damn airfield biddy. That airfield line has been absolutely fantastic for all the Walshes over there. So well done to them. And local trainer Michael O'Mara. It's great to see from a local perspective so many great local dogs in it this year. But a really nice victory. She was a 12-1 shot on the night, but beat a good field. That was not an easy heat, and did it very well. 285 down. She's young, and she'll be improving throughout the competition. It would be no surprise to see her progress and do 29.70, 29.60 down over the coming weeks. But really, really nice run.
Yeah, certainly the bare forms, 29.87, 12-1 would suggest, like she wasn't massively expected to win, obviously enough, but I'm sure one or two of the locals had a nibble at those sort of prices. I don't think the Ledger winner is going to come from this heat, don't get me wrong, but I think if there is going to be one that'll go far in the competition, you're going to have to go with the winner because she was thoroughly deserving in success, Tommy.
Well, out of ignorance as much as anything else on my part, I just looked at them, not knowing some of the dogs. I thought, this is a great opportunity for McNeil. Has the bit
Yeah.
of quality, has the bit of experience at the top level. It's a good draw. Everything is in place for a big run. Now he found after breaking in front, he actually found every bit of trouble in the race, and actually was finishing quite fast. And in clockwise, he'd do the clock in his sleep. There'd be no problem with that. It's just that where he could position himself around the track is his problem. It was my ignorance because Airfield Katie was just like, if you're going to win a race, win it the right way. Do it
If
the
you
right
watch
way.
if you watch the race blind, you think I'm going to look at the result and see this was 4-7 favorite. You wouldn't have been surprised if
Yeah,
she'd been returned that sort of price. Instead, she's returned
yeah,
12-1. You started going, wow, this caught someone off guard. Obviously not the connections though. They made the decision to enter in the Ledger, and
yeah.
absolutely proven correct. On to the second heat. In terms of quality, this was one of the hotter heats of the round. Coulivanyato, Radical Harry, Fate Point Harvey, but none of them had an answer to JT Craze. He's always been very, very fast. He hasn't always put it together, but enough, it was his experiences in England that really sort of woke him up a little bit. And this was a hell of a run from him. Fate Point Harvey got off the front, and in that case, you would have expected him, like a dog with 28-30s around Clonmel, you'd have expected him to stay in front, but he had no answer to JT Craze, who was 3-4 lengths behind at one point, charged into the third bend, took it up in between the last two bends, and stormed home to win 29.71. I think this was one of the runs where I think this was better than the clock. Does that make sense? I would nearly suggest that the track got a little bit speedier as the night went on, as the plating went on, because I think this 29.71 could easily have been a 29.41 had it been, in a week's time, shall we say, in different conditions. Very impressed with JT Craze, Tommy.
Yeah, impressed with JT Craze. I was interested to see what the comments were about Coulivanyato. It says moved off one, ran on. I'm not sure what moved off one. Did it move off one? If it did, it's the weirdest move of all time. I was trying to see did it hit the rails because it was so dramatic just for a stride or two the way he went off the bend and caused trouble and left himself with no chance. It's disappointing because he's obviously a dog with immense ability, but JT Craze showed lovely back straight pace, tracked well, did a lot of things right. And I think, like yourself, Ian, I think there's probably more in terms of the clock. I think there's more to come from him. Winning a Ledger, probably have to sharpen up a little bit, be able to turn a bit closer, maybe in better company.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that, Joe. But JT Craze, he's going to love the long back straight in Limerick, through this competition.
Absolutely. Suits Limerick down to the ground, and the owners were in fine voice the other night. John Turner was there, of course, at Cheltenham Festival, winning horse owner, but a fantastic greyhound owner as well. And the wonderful Fergal O'Brien, one of the top UK horse trainers, he was in attendance at Limerick the other night. I believe he's a part owner as well. But wonderful to see. They were in fine voice, and there was great scenes at Limerick once he won. But absolutely, I'd have to agree with you. I think the track slightly got faster as the evening went on, and as you said, definitely worth possibly a 29.50, 29.60 run, but has all the makings of a dog who could go a very, very long way, or even perhaps win this Ledger. No better man to train it. Paul Hennessy, he's won it 4 times before. Who remembers What a Tornado? Was it 2011?
Yeah, I remember What a Tornado. I was there anyway.
Commenting that night, but yeah, no better man than Hennessy going for his fifth Ledger.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning with the track, maybe the Airfield Casey 29.87 run is worth a review again. On to the third heat where Clonbrine Treaty, the defending champion, was racing from trap 6. He got loose early, and you would have expected, wow, this is going to be a great start to his Ledger campaign, but faded back. Faded. There's no point in saying anything else. Looked like a dog that probably hadn't been off the lead since he was last raced. Of all the dogs that ran in the opening round, given what we know about him and the way he ran to the third bend, you would expect this fellow to strengthen up considerably over the next couple of weeks, Joe. But a fine run by a Miami King. He's very talented, this fellow. This was 10 wins now from 21 starts for Gary Dempsey, Tony Howard, Dave Lawrence, and co. I know there's quite a number of owners in this fellow, but he has 28-23 around Shelbourne Park. He has a couple of good 550-yard runs, and his trial form 29.30 and 29.50 at Limerick. Here he is, virtually getting no touch, 29.91. That would suggest that the track has been faster in recent weeks.
Yeah, it was no surprise to see the winner win it, but I have to say it was surprising to see Clonbrine Treaty be passed out. You would expect when he went up to back straight, we were all at the track thinking, here it is, home and hose, definitely 3-length victory. It was slightly surprising, and he did a 28.16 trial the week before, so that would suggest that he came into the competition in great form. Do I think he'll improve as the competition goes on? Absolutely, but slightly surprising. I mean, he's still August 21, so he's not even 3 yet. So I mean, you can't blame age for it. I know he's ran a lot of races and he's done phenomenal. He's had a phenomenal career. I mean, to achieve what he's achieved is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, slightly surprising, I would say that he didn't retain his lead throughout from trap to line, but take nothing away from the victory of Miami King. That was a fantastic run, and to pass out the likes of Clonbrine Treaty, I think he's cemented himself as a major player. His trials obviously suggest that to win 29.30, but he's cemented himself as a major player in this competition.
Your thoughts, Tommy?
Yeah, I'd forgive it, because if you're back in Clonbrine Treaty, what you want is him to do exactly what he did the other night. You want him to be out in front. You want him to ping the leads like he did the other night. If he starts doing that, he'd probably win a Ledger again. I wouldn't mind that he might have needed the run. You could say maybe the winner could in theory have needed it, but Clonbrine Treaty probably had the trial and very little else, as you say, since his last run in England. Ventry Faith is an interesting greyhound in third place. Thought it showed an awful lot of ability. I thought very likely raced. Just the type of one that could improve enough to maybe scrape into the latter stages, but just wouldn't surprise me if it improved over the course of the next few months and ends up being a quarterfinals, semi-finals, and a Derby even.
Yeah, he showed plenty of pace at Shelbourne. Starting has been his issue. He got loose one night to 28.37, but showed plenty of pace in defeat in subsequent starts. I get the impression, and I get the impression, given the fact that he was sent off at 16-1, like trained by Owen McKenna, Owen is all of a sudden developed. He's got quite a kennel. I wouldn't suggest this fella's in the top 6. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But I agree with you. He's an August 22. He's a member of a very fast litter. And he has loads of pace himself. All he needs to do is sharpen up because the engine's already there. Yeah,
what I would be saying about him is that I think there's just that potential that he will improve plenty over time. He's a slow burner. There are times when he can break half reasonable without saying at the moment that he's learned how to break properly. Sorry, the sun is playing havoc here. It's brightening up and going in behind clouds and everything. I look like I look like I've been buried or something. It's just weird. It's weird, and it's catching my eye here the whole time. But he's just
think with the reflection of his forehead looks like.
I know, yeah. I'm sorry for blinding. Joe will be wearing shades in a minute, but I just think he's a dog that can improve plenty. He's just that type of dog. I think there's loads of ability there. It's just a matter of whether he can develop. There's Joe. Come on, Joe. He can develop over the next few months. Just I think he's a type that Owen does well with.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you there. Moving on to the fourth of the heats, and Ballyhimmock and Rex. Speaking of dogs with plenty of ability, well, this fella has buckets of it. 28-10 at Shelbourne Park on June 1st. That was sort of his confirmed comeback, because this was a dog that missed some time. He was very talented last year. I was very impressed with his display in Heat 4. Drawn Big 10, took a flyer from trap 2, was clear after a stride or two, but Ballyhimmock and Rex just took him on the opening corner, ran a fantastic bend to go in front, shot clear, 29.53. I was very impressed, Tommy.
I was impressed too, because like you said, I think the key to what you said there, the key to the race is the way he ran that first bend. 2 dogs inside him at the bend. And that is a recipe for fucking trouble for most greyhounds. And how he ran it and avoided getting any trouble at all, actually just accelerated off the bend. We know what he's like for a long time. He's massively talented. I'd love to see him go all the way to the final. And on that evidence, he can break better. He can break better than that. Like, he showed brilliant early pace the other night, but he'll have to sharpen up a bit if he's going to compete with the very best of them. But yeah, it was just a smashing display, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fine display. Barefoot on Fire had run well in a trial stick the previous week to win 29.54, and had really no answer to Ballyhimmock and Rex. We've seen the Ballyhimmock name run well in the ledger before, Joe. Ballyhimmock and Rex is definitely a player in this evidence.
Absolutely, and even though he's 3.5, even gone past 3.5, he ran like an up and coming greyhound, was improving to do that 29.53. One of his finest clocks. Very, very nice performance, very professional performance all around, and will go a long way if he keeps breaking like that. 2.93 and 5.42 down was his split, so he's definitely going the right way for sure.
17.29. It was under 17.30. Not too many went under 17.30, so you had to be impressed by that by Ballyhimmock and Rex, especially given the fact that he was on the outside of 3 dogs at the corner, as Tommy alluded to. We move on to Heat 5, and this was won by a reserve, a dog called Oscar the Grouch, son of Burgess Bucks, who had been subject to some hefty support at Shelbourne Park in his previous outing. Did a 2.04 up to the corner and just found all sorts of traffic to hit the deck off the second bend. The other evening, those that backed him probably didn't back him as feverishly, given the fact that he had been knocked over in his previous start. He went off an 8-1 chance. But this dog, if you again look at it from the outset and you had look at a blind, you'd have thought, well, this was probably a clear favourite, because he was absolutely dominant, flashed out, held a comfortable lead into the opening corner, and then raced away from his rivals. It wasn't the strongest heat of the round, there's no question about that, but the manner in which he landed the spoils was most impressive, Joe. This dog could be anything.
Absolutely. What a phenomenal run. I mean, I think Connections weren't so surprised. I think they knew that this dog really, really run, but we have a splash of Corona running there in the mix for but the We Play and We Lay Syndicate, I'd say they must have had a few quid on the other night. He went off a 5-4 the previous week in Shelbourne in a very hot race, so they know exactly what they had in their hands. But my God, 20, a phenomenal run. Going through the splits with him, 17.25, came home in 12.16, starting brilliantly. And this is key for a greyhound to win a ledger, has to be able to stay strongly. Doing 12.16 home, starting and staying, this greyhound will go an awful long way in this camp. Absolutely. This was his 12th start, Tommy. It was only the second time he'd ever led around the opening corner. Hard to believe when you look at him into the bend the other night.
Joe says he'd go a long way. He's already been a long way. He's had 12 runs. He's run at 5 different tracks, and he trialled at another one. He's already cost a fortune just to keep him going. They've travelled to a lot of tracks. Obviously trying to open up as many opportunities for the dog as they possibly can, which is the right thing to do. It's the best thing you can do for a dog is to give him plenty of experience and open up those opportunities. On that evidence, the 2.79 is very good as well. I mean, there's not a lot of crab in it. He didn't. I don't think he showed. I don't know what the sections will say. I don't think he showed explosive pace into the bend. He broke very well. I don't know that he accelerated into the bend.
It was probably a heat where there wasn't massive early speed. Let's be fair. Like the Kilcolgan Comet and Kilcolgan Zeus can both run, but like they're not what you'd call blistering early pacers. Jade's Rocket is very lightly racing its inside. Coulivanny Percy, 2 wins from 11, hasn't really set the world on fire into the opening corner, bar one run at Thurles where it did a 172 sectional. Drombeck Spark on the outside is perhaps the most consistent into the opening turn. But is limited enough in itself.
Yeah, look. I wouldn't like to crab it too much because the time is there. Everything about it is there. The 279 and the 2941, as Joe said, he's starting and staying. It's just that if I was going to find a fault in it just in terms of being critical, looking ahead at what's the challenges are for Oscar the Grouch, I'd say that just getting into that bend in front might just be the question mark. Can he do it? If he can, and hey, he's entitled to improve. I mean, he's only had 12 runs. He's entitled to improve. If he can, he can go deep into competition, but it will get a lot tougher, as you said.
Yeah, the fact that he had that run in Shelbourne Park meant that, and the fact that he was reserve as well, meant that Connections probably didn't have the Limerick to the forefront of their mind. That run in Shelbourne Park was a semi-final of a competition. Or a first round of a competition. Had he made it through that, he wouldn't have been in the ledger at all. But maybe it's a happy misfortune that he did take a tumble that night in Shelbourne Park and all of a sudden appears in the ledger. And given this run, there's nothing to suggest he can't continue to improve and go through the competition. Very impressive display, no question about it. We speak about, maybe find a few yards early and whatnot, but one thing that's definitely there, we've said it already tonight, is the engine. Very impressive display. When you consider Heat 6 here tonight was won by Knockeen Dazzler, 29.72, the Kirby Memorial champion. Like, he's a full 31 spots faster than Knockeen Dazzler, 15 minutes earlier, 4.5 lengths. And yet, I was impressed with Knockeen Dazzler. We'll lead with you, Tommy, because you already referenced it. You look at it the second and third time, becomes more and more impressive because this is a dog that generally would have to set the pace. He didn't. He had to work for the lead. And once getting to the corner and getting around that opening corner, getting to the front, he stayed right to the line. It's not something he looked like he was doing at Shelbourne Park, but it's clear he's comfortable and happy in the surroundings of Limerick and just looked a stronger dog. And again, the 550 run-up can only favour him going forward. And yeah, I was suitably impressed.
Yeah, well, I don't know if bloody son. I don't know, is it fair or not to say that is he a dog that didn't quite settle into Shelbourne Park just yet when he went up there? Did that I think this will really suit him. Not that he's back in Limerick, he can settle into Shelbourne Park with a bit more experience. But I just think he looks such a good dog in the Kirby, and I just love the way he was trained. I love the way that they improved him through the competition in the Kirby, and I just get a feeling that they can do that again with him. He's settled. We talked during the Kirby that he's a dog that could improve and could become a Derby dog, and that's still not beyond the bounds of hope. But I just like him being back here, and I like the fact that he's in a long competition and he's got a bit of time to kind of enjoy the surroundings a little bit and to for the routine like that they had in the Kirby to come back. I thought Daniel O'Reilly and his family dealt really, really well with this dog through the Kirby. And I just, as I said to you, when I looked first, I went, it's 29.72, and I watched the heat and I went, it was grand. And then just the more I watched it, I went, you know what, this is really, really good. This is really a dog that's mature. He does love the place. I wouldn't like to say he's just a pure Limerick dog. That would be grossly unfair to the dog. But he really accelerates or excels. He really excels around here. I mean, he is potentially a leisure winner. Definitely, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, look, he'll have to improve a little bit on that particular run. But I think we saw in the Kirby that's what these Connections can do with the dog.
Yeah, Joe, Limerick in certainly in recent years, you find that obviously Clonbrine Treat is one, Swords Rex is another. Dogs that really run Limerick well. That and this fellow definitely comes under that bracket. He just seems happiest here. I thought it was a hell of a run the other evening, but again, I would expect far better from him. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. He was a 2-5 chance, and he really should be winning this race pretty comfortably. It wasn't perhaps as comfortable as we thought, but he did have to work a little bit harder than we'd have expected to get to the front. So I think it was a great first step.
I think it was a fantastic performance. I wouldn't get too bothered about the time. I mean, he done exactly what was asked of him. Greyhound men told me one time the only occasion I was worried about time was when I was serving it. But really,
I won't ask you who said that.
From his time in the Kirby, I think looking at his splits even from the Kirby, you could say absolutely this is a Ledger dog. He was coming home in 12-10, 12-15, 4-12 down to the corner. He starts and he stays. Splits were consistent. The other night came home in 17-26. Sorry, 12-46, but very, very nice performance. And I think, as you said, he's a greyhound who will continue to improve throughout the competition. He hasn't been overly cooked this year. You know, he won the Kirby that time back in April, and he didn't run again until June, and so he hasn't been overly done in those couple of months. So he still should have that bit of freshness in him, and he's only a March 22 whelp. I agree with you, boys. I think he's going to continue to improve throughout the competition, and fantastic to see young Dan O'Reilly, 2 greyhounds in the kennel. Like, it's phenomenal. It's a wonderful news story, and you know, we've so much to be proud of in the greyhound racing game. We should be singing it from the hilltops. These young people doing so well. So hats off to Dan O'Reilly and all his family. Fantastic training performance, and it'd be great to see Knocky and Dazzler go all the way in the competition.
Oh man, Joe, again, Tommy. We will mention Ballycount. Connor, he ran well in second spot. There's no question about that. He's only had the 10 starts. He's only a July 22 whelp. Dean Harper obviously hasn't been good, Nick. 28-33 and 28-36 in his previous 2 starts around Cork. You know, anytime you see a dog beating Peroni around Cork, you know he can run a bit.
Yeah.
You know, Peroni is an absolute pro down in Cork. So, you know, in time, this form might even look better. You know, Ballycount, Connor, is certainly going the right way, Tommy. It's just worth the mention.
Oh, definitely worth a mention. And Dean Harper doesn't keep too many. He keeps our smart dogs, and when the dog can beat Peroni, as you said, who's a good, what I would call a good yardstick around Cork, and you're doing that, and the only way you can do that is by doing what he did the last day, was a 323 sectional. So then you go translate it 282 the other night, and Knocky and Dazzler was able to come around the dog doing 282. That's what I liked about the performance. That's what I went, you know, when I look back, I went, you know what, this is a lot better than I thought from the winner. So two good performances. Again, you'd expect that the Ballycount dog can improve a bit. Ballycount Connor can improve a bit. And when he has that bit of early pace, who knows how many rounds he might go.
Yeah, he's the sort of dog, like, you might look at your second or third round draw and you see him on your immediate inside and you'll go, oh, I don't even know what that is. That's grand. And then you realize, oh sugar, this fella can go up. You know, this fella's gonna be in my way a little bit. You know, just now.
I would just say, just because I talk a lot about sections and how sometimes I don't trust them, and this, there for a period, and I can't tell you whether it was last week or the week before, but there for a period during the David Fitzgibbon Memorial and during the unrace and that the sections in Cork were extremely fast. Remember, there was a 3:15. Now, I'm talking about 3:15 from a dog who might be a Derby dog, and a dog who broke the track record in
3:15. Absolutely smashed the track record in Dundalk.
Actually, anyway, we get on to after a while, because that was just that was a performance for the ages. But anyway, I was just saying, the 3:23. There were a lot of them at the time. You go through periods where there aren't those 3:23s. But there were a few of them. You still have to be exceptionally fast to do it, don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, at that time, a 3:35, which most of the year round would be decent, would be considered moderate for a period. So 3:23 is still very fast, but there were a lot of fast sections at the time.
Yeah, we'll move on to Heat 7. Sonia and Grande, 29.88 off the front. It's what Sonia and Grande does, Joe. He's one of those dogs where if you put him in a race where he should win, he often does win. He's just a thoroughly likable greyhound. He's probably that yard or two shy of top class, no question about it. But he's been to every dance, and he's got a shift at a couple of them now. You know what I mean? Like, he's a decent hound. He's done well on the outside there in Heat 7. But again, if he was going to win a heat, this was the type of heat he was going to win.
Yeah, Jack and I were speaking about the Swedish house party syndicate, and you know what he is? He's a fantastic syndicate dog. He's given them 13 victories. He's won on some really, really big nights, and that 28-30 around Tralee was a very, very good run on his previous start as well. But you know, another greyhound who did everything that has been asked of him. Is he a Ledger winner? Possibly not, but he's given this syndicate a fantastic time. He's very, very consistent. You know, he's another dog who's rising 4 in January, but you know, with runs like that, he's so consistent and is full of heart. And wonderful win for another young trainer, Jack Kennelly. Great to see him doing so well as well. I mean, he's only 20, 23, 24, but he's another fantastic up and coming young trainer. So really great for him to see that as well.
And like myself, Jack didn't have to worry about trying to get an All-Ireland final ticket. You know, I just want to mention that Kerry didn't get there either. Nor did Limerick, actually. While we have it, well done to Clare. Drombeg Pearl was back in third. You mentioned Evan McAuliffe with 3 qualifiers. This was another one. She's only June 22. She's a nice type. She's from a fast family. But it is worth mentioning, you know, Evan McAuliffe with more success in the Ledger. It seems every year we end up talking about him. And obviously, you know, if he gets older every year, but he's only 17. It's remarkable. Tommy Sonia and Grande. I think Joe summed it up perfectly. He'd be just the type of dog you'd love for a syndicate.
I think you summed it up well as well about the dog, because I think it means dream big, Sonia and Grande, but he's a dog that's just a yard or two shy, because if you look at his form, even his form figures, it goes like 1-1-5, 2-5, 1-1, that sort of stuff. If you go all the way back to the start of it, it's punctuated by the odd kind of out of the places, and that's what you're kind of thinking will happen along the way in the Ledger. Like, you know, maybe not the next round, the round after, might just not be able to get around that bend in front and finish 4th or 5th and be out of the competition. But he is a lovely dog. He's won something like 13 races and over 10,000 in prize money. So look, he's a smashing dog. He's just not a Ledger winner, is he?
No, he's not. Let's move on to Heat 8, because we do have potentially a Ledger winner here. Tommy, you've already spoken, you know, at length a little bit about so he says. You've already spoken about Unanimous Panther. Joe, I was taken by it. Obviously, he's going to need to keep trapping like that. But I think, you know, he's a big dog. He's only he's 87 pounds. I still think he's sort of just getting used to himself, getting used to his frame. His card is impressive. And it's only getting more impressive. I think he's a dog with the ability to win a Ledger. It's a case of whether he can match them in the early yards when things start to heat up. But 29.34, 5.38, 17.21. You know, the 29.34, like he's doing 11.13 home. Like, talk us through it, Joe.
Yeah, I'd what Tommy was saying earlier, I'd have to disagree slightly. I mean, he's been in 2 competitions. He's won one of them. The first one was the Lee Strand in Tralee, which I know it's an A3 competition, but really it's harder than that. You always have really, really good hot pots in it. And he's done it week in, week out in those competitions. And I think, you know, he missed it in Dundalk the previous week. But my God, 29.34, he did absolutely everything right. To win a race of that quality by 6 lengths shows you the class of this dog. And I would be the least surprised person if he went all the way this year. He's still 12-1, which I think is really good value. But really, really nice performance. As you said, the splits, I have them here. 12 coming home in 12-13. That's phenomenal. And I'd say it's probably the fastest split coming home.
Of the winners, yeah.
5.38 down. I mean, the splits are all there. The class is all there. He's a produce stakes winner. And look at his breeding. As we often say, an ounce of breeding is worth a ton of feed.
No, as you often say, Joe. As you often say.
I was taught that by the great Dennis O'Malley. Wonderful man. Out of Miss All. I mean, very, very well. He's bred to be a classic winner. He's already a classic winner, but he's bred to be a superstar. And be no surprise to see Unanimous Panther go all the way in this competition for sure.
Tommy, anything else to add?
Not really. Look, to be honest about I back him now at 8-1 or whatever he is. No, but he's the type of dog that if the makeup is right in the final, he's capable of winning most races. I just if like it's hard to do. I wouldn't use the example of Dundalk as a prime example of what the dog is or isn't capable of. But I did think down the back he caught out a little bit in terms of the winner more than his match down the back, Drubby's Mandolin. And that would be my fear with him when you get up into the real top class. Will he be able to match them early and then down the back? Because I had him down as an extremely fast down the back, but she matched him more than matched him. Actually, probably was slightly faster than down the back. So I think in my head, limitations exposed somewhat.
Yeah,
but those limitations are exposed at a very high level.
My argument to that would be Drubby's Mandolin is probably as good down the back as probably anything in training. You know, it was a hell of a run from her. We know how fast she is, but no, I see where you're coming from. I think he's a dog, like given his frame, 87 pounds, any sort of traffic problems, whatnot, it just takes him a while to get going again. You know, that's going to be an issue. But if he keeps popping out like that, who knows? He mightn't have to worry about those things. No question, he has the engine. It's just a case of whether he can just stay sharp enough, shall we say. One dog that has proven in the past that he's sharp enough is Super Fast Gordon. Although Hogan's Stand slightly outpaced him into the opening corner. I think we've spoken about Hogan's Stand before, Tommy. I'm not sure. Maybe it was during the champion open race down in Kilkenny. Looks a nice dog. Showed good early speed, but left a lovely gap off the second bend. Just drifted off wide, and all of a sudden, Super Fast Gordon was sort of invited, and he charged up into the third bend to go on. Sort of Broadstrand Bono out of an Oaks winner, JT Jordan. We know how talented he is, and he won Heat 9 in good style, 29.44. He's a very capable performer, Tommy. I've been shocked by the transition to 525 to 550. He just doesn't seem to have the same early speed over 550 as he did seem to have over 525.
Super Fast Gordon.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying. We talked about the champion stakes final, and we were saying that like the preview was there. He Let's Go Bubbles was able to kind of beat him into the bend, and he could not get her after breaking clear second place and not get close to catching Let's Go Bubbles going into the bend. He broke in front, and Hogan Stand was able to outpace him. Well, not outpace him, that'd be a bit harsh, but he was a little bit quicker than him into the bend, but then took another length and a half. Maybe by the second bend, he had taken a full 2 lengths out of Super Fast Gordon. Now, Super Fast Gordon showed terrific pace and ability down the back, and clever tracking as well to switch inside to take advantage of the gap. This is one of the ones I was talking about. The 29.34 was the fastest time. This could have been 29.34 had Super Fast Gordon, had a clear run.
Had it been the other side of Hogan's Stand, he'd have gone around in front.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe done 29.34 or 29.30 or whatever. He's an exceptionally fast dog, but I think again, I'm with you on this one. It's just when they get to the point, and this is nitpicking because we don't nitpick about the dogs that finish 4th, 5th, and 6th in most of the heats, because we're not trying to compare them to the very top dogs in the country or the potential classic winners, Ledger winners. So if you're nitpicking with Super Fast Gordon, you're going to say that break the other night is probably as fast as he gets, and he is a good breaker, but it's that bit from that break into the bend is where you're going to find out at the top level. He might just find a little bit of traffic problem along the way. So terrifically fast dog, and again, I would think he's in the same bracket as Unanimous Panther in terms of you'll close your eyes a little bit along the way and hope that he gets to a final, and then see what the makeup of the race is like, and see whether he can win a Ledger or not. But in terms of would I want to back him anti-post? No, I'd rather wait till the final and see if he's a bit of a price and has a draw that I think that he can make the most of. So really good dog, but just not my idea yet of a bet.
Joe, any further to add?
Yeah, he's still at 283 down, which is showed really good early pace, and drove on to win it, and 29.44 was a really, really good run. Who better to have training your dog as well than Pat Buckley? I see that video was reshared around of his victory in 0-4 in the Ledger Would Never Give Up. What a fantastic story that is. But very, very likeable performance. That he's a greyhound with a massive engine. He's justifiably up there in prominent in the betting, and I wouldn't be as skeptical maybe as you was Tommy would be of him. I'd be happy to back him at what he is.
Yeah, he has checked off the opening corner a couple of times in the past, and I fear that's why he's seated middle. But if he was mine, I'd seat it with inside, hoping that he get 2 or 3. I don't know if am I wide of the mark there. Silence. That's fine.
Sorry, Ian. I thought you're talking to Joe. No, you're not. I think I do the same. I'll be honest about it. He tracked nicely down to the third bend, going inside the dog in front. Okay, inside the dog in front with the Hogan Stand going middle. And to be honest about it, Joe said he went down 283. By the time he was probably a neck or half a length up. By the time they got to the bend, he was only about a neck or half a length down. Yeah. It's around that first bend. It became 2 lengths by the time he got to the second, or to the straighten up in the back straight. It was 2 lengths. So that's where my concern is in terms of that dog. But again, as I said to you, we only go into detail about the really good ones because we're trying to find a winner, or I'm trying to find a winner anyway.
I would suggest that this could be a similar situation to Knocky and Dazzler, in a sense where in 3 weeks' time we could be talking about Hogan Stand as being a player in this Ledger. He's very lightly raced, very, very well bred, and did show terrific early speed. The fact that they brought him down for that Fitzgibbon, and don't get me wrong, he was well beaten in his 2 rounds there, but like his Protestant sit out in front of him. I wouldn't be too judgmental of those runs, but he's shown plenty of ability in a short career to date. And this is one of those performances by Superfast Gordon that we could again reassess in a couple of weeks' time, going, do you know what? That was a hell of a run. Like, he's after back running Hogan's stand and beating him 4 lengths. That might just look a lot better in 2 or 3 weeks' time than it does now. Fay Point Sean was back in third. He remains a dog of real ability. You look at his record: 11 from 18 prior to Saturday night. 28-21 trial there at Limerick. Just needs to just do things right, but there's no question there's better to come from him than a 29.89 around Limerick. I just wouldn't completely dismiss his claims in the ledger. Joe, we'll let you talk about Drumbeg Rio because it was mighty impressive. It popped out from the inside. Now, it was a race where In Good Time was the red hot favourite. He didn't hit the lids, and he generally does need to lead off. But when Drumbeg Rio went round in front, he was not for catching. He did edge off from trap 1. It must be said. It held up maybe 1 or 2 of his rivals, but it scarcely mattered. He races to the line, wins in 29.65. He's a nice type, and another one for Evan McAuliffe that you could sort of hang your hat and say, listen, you put this in a race where it should win, and it probably will.
And it's a great testament to Evan McAuliffe, because this is not a greyhound who was open class from the off. I mean, he's been a grader pretty much up until kind of May kind of time, and ran in 10, 15, about 15 graded races. So it's clear to see that Evan's training methods and what he's doing with the dog is improving him and constantly improving. So that's wonderful. Another 17-year-old do so well. Kind of lucky that he had, he edged off there, and it's kind of lucky that he was kind of clear and he had the room to edge off, because he could have created a few traffic issues if he didn't. There has been a middle seat put on him in light of his run the other night, and I think it's the right decision, to be honest. He did edge off. It was just lucky that there was no traffic, but I mean, what a phenomenal run. 29.65. He's on a clear trajectory upwards here. He's gone from A4 to A3 and A1, and now that open class run the other night, he's only going one way. Really, really fantastic run, and the likes of to have In Good Time in behind. Like, In Good Time is a serious greyhound, and Drumbeg Rio has projected himself as a fantastic greyhound, and has every right and has every class to go a long way in the competition. And it's a very exciting time for Evan McAuliffe to have 3 runners remaining out of 48, like in a ledger. It's really fantastic. His strike rate, I was just looking at the figures there earlier on. He's had 83 runners this year, 23 wins, so about 27%.
Nothing wrong with that.
Have a strike rate as good as that back in your head, did you?
I did, yeah.
Oh, God, stop! Just move on.
That's
before I get in trouble. Tommy and Dad.
No, not a bit. To be honest about it, like the seeding change is right, as Joe said, but also the runner up In Good Time. Like, it's not that long. It's May the 4th. That he set a track record below in Limerick. He's a really fast dog, but he actually had 2 dogs inside him go around the first 2 bends and tried to cut in on the bends as he raced the bends. He's a middle seed, not a wide seed. He's in 6 a bit because of the just the way the seeding falls off. Oftentimes he's a middle seed, not a wide seed. So I forgive him that run. I mean, his problem, of course, again, in winning a competition like this is, can he break every single night? Because if he does, I mean, if you can do a track record, you don't need me to explain how fast the dog must be. So it's just a matter of getting him out of traps, consistently, and he could be a finalist, perhaps.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about his little brother now in a moment, because Carmack King was in the last of the 11 heats, justified even money favourites, and had to work a little bit harder than some would have expected when he led into the opening corner, but left a gap. Bocco's Crystal charged to on the inside. Bocco's Crystal, she's been lightly raced. She's been stop-start over the last while, and she's gone 4 years. She's gone 4 years of age. She's into her. Oh no, she's not gone 4 years of age. She's gone 4 years of age in the next week or two. She remains talented, but Carmack King was back in front by halfway and went on to win. A big run by Blastoff Salah in second spot, with Bocco's Crystal third. I think Carmack King is capable of much better than this. Certainly on his best Shelbourne Park form, that would be suggested. I don't think they came to Limerick to give him a run. Certainly not an official run. Had he been around Limerick in the past, he had a couple of runs around Limerick without luck earlier in his career. So I think he'll benefit from this run. Tommy, what's your own view?
Uh, well, to be honest about it, he probably has to be favourite. Let me open the bet, and I think he has to be favourite to win the competition. I think, yes, he sixes himself in Knocking Dazzler with one crowd, 5-1 clear favourite with another. I think he has to be kind of that. I think, like you said, look at Owen McKenna is deadly at these stakes, these long competitions. Knows how to kind of take his time with the dogs, get the best out of them over the course of the 5 weeks. He was a dog that was very busy. He got a bit of a break. We kind of talked about how maybe he wasn't at his very best in the Champions Stakes and whatever else. He ran a hell of a race in the final, having very little go with him and being drawn in two. I would be more than satisfied with this run. I mean, you might say that Bacchus Crystal is nearly 4 years of age, but she's a Derby runner up, and she's a bit of immense ability, and I think her age caught up with her close home in one sense, but it did not necessarily catch up with him early. She showed that lovely pace, that sharpness that she has, and Blast Off Salah ran a hell of a race, as you said. I mean, he showed all sorts of ability to close down to a beating a length and a half. But I definitely smacked to me that Karma King will improve for the run.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Joe?
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. I think Karma King is justifiable favourite. And the thing I really like about this dog is he ran 6 races in the space of about 5-6 weeks, won 6 of them. And his best run was on the last one, So he's clearly a competition dog, and he's clearly able to go through these rounds and improve. And I mean, that's not easy what he did running those races in over that period of time, and to do that 29:34 in the final of the Champion 550, it just shows how tough and how strong this dog is. 29:72, he's much better than that. Track might have slowed down a small bit again by that time. Who knows? Did 280 down. Splits are all there. Came home in 12:27, 17:45. I think that's where he will probably improve his time, knock that 17:45 down a couple of lengths for sure. Justifiable favourite, I would say. Very, very likely contender, and just that toughness that he showed up in Shelbourne Park, he'll bring that to Limerick, and I think Karma King will go a long way.
Yeah, I'll still stick with Clonbrine Treaty and Knocking Dazzler in terms of the dogs I think should be favoured, given the fact that they have the brilliant early speed. Karma King, that's where he has been just. That's still the sort of slight unknown about him. He's raced in hot company. He won that Champion 550. Wasn't an awful lot of early speed in that competition. And when he did get to the Champion Stakes, it was a bit tougher for him. He didn't get things his own way, and he hasn't set the pace too often in subsequent starts since that Champion 550. So I'm just sort of. I'm a huge fan. Don't get me wrong. A massive engine, very, very fast Greyhound. And if the Derby had started, let's say 3 or 4 weeks after the Champion 550, I think he nearly would have been favourite. I think it's a different scenario now. I just be worried about that yard into the opening corner. But we'll find out. Tommy, if you had to pick a likely winner of the Ledger now, what would it be?
A likely winner, probably Karma King. It's not very exciting, I'm afraid. I'm not bowled over now. There's only really kind of 2 firms that I can see the prices of on Odds Checker, and I'm not bowled over by any of the prices, to be quite honest about it. I mean, there are 6 dogs at 10-1 or shorter.
Yeah, Joe.
Unanimous Panther. I think he just has that touch of class, and I'd fancy him to. If I had to, pick,
it's been awkward, isn't he?
Yeah. You could shortlist 6 or 7, but yeah, I'm going to go with Unanimous Panther.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you know what? I'll stick with Clonbrine Treaty. He's been there, done that. He showed the early speed the other night. I think he'll greatly improve for it. Just want to mention the second round draw. They're largely kept apart. I think that sums up where we are still at with the Ledger. The dogs, the real proven ability. There aren't all that many of them left, and then they've been kept well apart, which is good for the latter stages of the competition, but I think there'll be a few short price runners in the second round, and I think that's worth pointing out. We'll move on. Dundalk on Saturday night, should I say. It's unfortunate clash with the opening round of the Ledger as well, but we have to talk about Broadstrand Sid, Tommy. It was an absolutely stunning display, 20:57. I described it as one of the truly great runs. We saw fast dogs doing fast runs on the night, but nothing could live with Broadstrand Sid. We've been talking about this dog for a few weeks at this stage. He has absolutely astronomical early speed, but he also has it down the back straight, and that showed in Dundalk the other night. 20:57. I never thought I'd see the day.
Well, I tell you, I don't know whether it's Barney O'Hare deciding to add the bonus. You know, if you win this and the ledge or the laurel, sorry. I don't know, but the quality of the whole entry was fantastic. But there were some performances like before getting to Broadstrand, see Trinity Junior, God, one of the most likable dogs in training, to come out, do a sprint, a sub 21-second sprint effort, and you know,
his first ever sprint.
Well, actually, that's the point I was about to make about Broadstrand Seed. I mean, he's going into this competition. He's taking on Road Exile, who's a vastly experienced sprinter, a dog who won the Super Sprint in Cork, I think, earlier in the year. He was a semi-finalist in the Sprint Cup last year. And he's doing what most dogs do, Broadstrand Seed. He came out and he moved a little bit right. That's just coursing the hair a little bit. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But he railed like a cat from the last bend home. He was absolutely and utterly brilliant. You said it was one of the races. I called it a performance for the ages. It was savage what he did to really a top class sprinter in behind him, Road Exile. He was like, I don't know. I didn't think you could break a track record, not a sprint track record, by 2.5 lengths almost. It was absolutely savage. And it goes back to what I said. I wrote something in the paper. You often regret it because you're going to make a fool of yourself. But it's inevitable that you do along the way. I actually wrote the David Fitzgibbon Memorial I think it was in the preview maybe, that I just wouldn't be surprised if we had a Derby and a Laurels winner coming out of that same final between Broadstrand and Bacchus Diamond. I've had a tiny bet on Bacchus Diamond to win the Derby, and I think I'll just keep topping up on it and hope that he gets there safe and sound. I don't think the price is huge at the moment, but I think that was. They're exceptional dogs. I mean, I think they're truly exceptional.
I'd top up this week. I'd top up this week. I think he's trialing in Shelbourne Park on Friday night coming. So
yeah. I just think, to be honest about it, performances like this are not that big a surprise, because even though sometimes you can, if you don't know a track very well, you can kind of go, look at Cork runs very fast at times and whatever else, and you can dismiss it a little bit. But I think we saw with the Dennis Linehan, we saw with the David Fitzgibbon Memorial, that the dogs were in exceptionally good form, and Broadstrand Seed was one of those. I mean, that track record, I'm not surprised that he can do like sub 21 seconds. I'm just surprised that any dog can do 20:57. Yeah. I remember, Ian, sorry, I mentioned here a few weeks ago that I had a dog years ago, many years ago, probably 20 years ago, not long after Dundalk had been changed around a bit, and he was breaking track records in trials, but he couldn't do it in races. He ends up being a disappointing dog. But I think when he was breaking his track record in Dundalk for 400 yards, I think it was around about 21:90 or something was the track record. 20:57 now.
I think that was 4:10.
I don't know.
They reconfigured it from 4:10 to 400 a few years later.
I think it had been reconfigured at the time, but anyway.
Hell of a run, Broadstrand Seed. Joe, I'm sure you look back on it, he just has the most stunning early speed. Obviously, his dam Droopy Zalas had plenty of early speed, but again, Droopy Sydney. But like, it's Road Exile and Balnakill-Alf. Like Tommy didn't mention Balnakill-Alf, who won the Island Bridge at Shelbourne Park. He's been probably inside Ireland's top 2 or 3 sprinters for the last year and a half, and Broadstrand Seed just ragged them.
It's truly hard to put it into words. Like the makeup of that final, there's enough class in there to make a final of nearly any sprint stake. You're an owner of a dog, you get told, right, you're going to go to the bar 1, you're going to do 21:06. That absolutely. The dog that did came 4th, bobsleigh Sid. Like, put that into context. That's phenomenal. Like Road Exile, like one of the best sprinters of all time. It gets fair and square. There wasn't even any excuses for anything in behind. There was, it was just fair and square. 5 lengths. It was just really hard to put into words. I mean, what a performance! Yeah. What a
phenomenal stuff. Sadly, we won't have much time to talk through the Irish Sprint Cup. I know Tommy's getting away, so we just want to mention a few others. Carrickall, the defending champion, 21:04, didn't lead into the opening corner pavilion. Team went up strongly, but Carrickall ran a great bend, took him off the sort of second bend, and went to win on in 21:04. There were a couple of sub 21 second runs. Tommy already mentioned Trinity Junior. Again, he ran like a real hard 4-bend runner, beating a sprinter. Second Treasure went up fast. Trinity Junior just took his time, and once sort of edging upside, Second Treasure just powered on, nearly won by 4 lengths in 2092. You know, he really is running as well as he ever did after that 28-13 run at Shelbourne, his previous outing. Apple Tart was a very impressive winner in 2107 for Graham Holland, one of 2 runners for Graham Holland, because he also won with Romeo Taylor, a dog who himself has blistering early speed. And when he took the start he did, I was expecting maybe a 2070 or 2080 run. He does 2091, again putting into perspective the run of Broadstrand Sid. There was also a 2101 I want to mention from Fla Riley, mighty impressive, winning the opening heat. It was one of the weaker heats, but James Kerr has his dogs really purring at present, and Fla Riley, not known as a sprinter, but won very, very well. And there's another couple I want to mention. Zippy Canning ran very well. Law Hill Bruce ran on very strongly. Neon Knight. The one I want to mention is Elite Kursk won Heat 10 for Miles Robin, 21-23, but it had done the clock in a trial in Escorty in its previous trial. Missed the kick somewhat the other evening, showed great speed up in the outside, had to go around the whole field, and impressed in 21-23. I think he's better for much, much better. He's actually out of Miles' own stud dog, Elite Black, who I think has started very well in the stud career, just worth keeping in mind. And the last heat, Stone Park Coffa, looked like a pup, just sort of got a bit lost in himself in the first few yards after a decent start, but got going again and took it up into the bend, winning 21-45. No surprise to me if he went 5-6 lengths faster next time out. So keep that in mind. It's a hell of a competition, and that is going to heat up very quickly. You know, there's a lot of very fast greyhounds there that didn't win that are still in the competition, but I think it's safe to say that Broadstrand Sid, who had been backed with the sponsors bar one from 7-1 into 11-2 before the off, is the one to beat. If he continues to start like that, there aren't too many are going to get close to him. Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, I'm going to gloss over this fairly quickly because there was a number of sub 28-second runs. We won't let Tommy talk about them. The track was rated 20 fast, and it's been absolutely bouncing for the last 2 to 3 weeks. One dog before racing. Tommy, you may well know about him. Callaway Kinnegar, the dog that debuted in 28-14 around in Cork. He posted 27.79 in the trial. It was a stunning effort. Yes, the track is running fast, but even if you add the 20, and it was probably 20-25 fast, he's still, you know, knocking on the 28 seconds. An unbelievable performance by a young greyhound that's clearly very, very fast. As I said, Owen McKenna is building up quite a nice team for himself on the track itself. This feature was the semi-finals of this run's deep open unraced. Boyle Sports Blue 27.98, confirming the promise he showed in the opening round. He looks a hell of a fast greyhound. Did I think he'd be doing 27.98? Well, not far off it, but you know, it was a hell of a run the other evening. He wins by 7 lengths. Yes, he's aided by a bit of traffic on the corner. Droopy's expected, was capable of playing a big part in proceedings, got clipped from behind. Yorkie Ollie, who had 28 seconds in qualifying 28.09 in his debut, won in 28.37. He had to force his way through runners, took a couple of rubs, so the 28.37, you know, a bit slower than the previous round. That's to be expected. Kusain Pickles, she picked up Dealish Nora. Now, Dealish Nora is a confirmed 28.30 bitch. She picked her up and beat her 3 lengths. She has an engine like no other. I think she could be another crafty Kokoro. Tommy, I said to Barry Call via text on Saturday night, it would not surprise me to see this lady rocking up in a Derby final later in the year. Given her, despite her age, she has an immense engine. Cushy the best 28.23. He's a dog with blistering early speed. Hell of a run everywhere. Ballymac run 28.11. You know, all points to the fact that the track was very, very quick, but aren't we all? 27.92, even if the track is 20 spots past. She did absolutely everything right. She looks like she's in the form of her career. And Ballymac is one English Derby finalist at 28.08. Just some stunning performances at Shelbourne Park. Tommy, you've mentioned it for quite some time, but I think we all are taken a bit aback by how quick the track is running at present.
Yeah, well, you know, but it's there's lots of factors in it. It's also down to the maintenance and the improvements in maintenance. It's down to improvements in nutrition, in training methods. There's just so many things that can go together. Like, it'll get more common. It will, and I know you kind of give out to me a little bit when I did talk about it last year and that sort of stuff. But it is becoming like we saw, you know, Baffa's Diamond do it 3 times in a row in Curraheen Park, which is, that to me is almost the unheard of bit. Well, did Paradise Madison do it 3 times in a row? Maybe he did when he did it 27.67 or whatever that was. He might have done it 2 or 3 times in a row in that. He did
27.92, I think, the first night to break the clock, and then I think
National Puppy Stakes, sorry, at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's phenomenal stuff. It is going to get more common, but that wouldn't take any bit away from it. I was thinking, all right, when I was looking at the Irish Derby betting there earlier on, before we came on air, that the Nagari had done a big trial because I saw he was down into about third or fourth favourite for the Derby. So I was thinking that might have been a bit premature based on what he had achieved in Cork, but obviously the talent is there.
The fact here's one for you. The fact that the Boyle Sports odds compiler was the one that walked into traps probably helped as well.
Probably helped, all right, yeah.
Good man, Damo.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a hell of a run. I think I get the impression that they weren't massively surprised. I think this is a dog with probably untold ability. Yeah, if you're backing one or two of the ones at the top of the market, these are the dogs you have to watch out for, the up and coming ones, Tommy. It's always been the case. You keep an eye on those dogs that have the 5-6 races that are still open to plenty of improvement, and the Callaway dog is clearly one of them.
Yeah, and you do, and look at even though I'm talking about Bacchus Diamond as a potential Derby winner, and he's 12-1 favourite and all that sort of stuff. He's even ahead of the lad he does semi-finalist last year, a dog who won an English Derby. You're still kind of taking a bit of a chance on him. You have to decide how brilliant do you think he really is to be taking 12-1 in that sort of company, and you're also not factoring in the fact that it's for another couple of months, and you have dogs developing and can come out of the blue. Ligari's into 25-1. There's a dog there. Is that House Martin 25-1? You've got there's plenty of potential flies in the ointment, let's just say. But I just think I've just been so taken by. I'm like you, Ian. I know you say a lot, can't wait to see him in Shelbourne Park, but it is the fairest track, and it is where you get to see whether it's the nuances of a track that really suits a dog, or whether a dog can do it in the fairest track in Ireland. So, we both expect that Bacchus Diamond we could be in for a derby of all time. You said a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last weekend, that you were talking to Dylan Fitzsimons, and Dylan was saying that maybe there wasn't a standout there and maybe he's right, and maybe that's why the gap is there. And maybe these are the dogs that are coming in to fill the gap, to make it, because we've still got a couple of months before the Derby, so we're not. It's not a big panic. Yes, they want to have shown something by now, but they've still got time to maybe get 5 or 6 runs in total into them before the Derby. And that's kind of a minimum what you want.
Let me go on record, Tommy. If you offered me every single Greyhound in training, July 22 or older, or every Greyhound in training younger than that, I would be taking the younger crowd at 2-1. I think this year's Derby will be won by a first season Greyhound. I think there's some exceptionally talented first season Greyhounds out there. You mentioned House Martin there. He's only had 3 starts. It's only one win that's card, but it did a 28-01 around Shelbourne Park there last weekend, and he's a Droopy Sydney out of Susie Sapphire. There's no surprise. These are the types of dogs you're dealing with. Dogs with unbelievable pedigree, with unbelievable potential coming through. And I think I'd take that crop over the well-established crop.
Yeah, and that's entirely fair. But that's what it is. You need to freshen up the crops every single year. The Derby, if all of last year's Derby dogs were the leading fancy for this year's Derby, it would get pretty boring pretty quick. You need these exciting sorts to come into it, and they do look. And again, it's early and foals, gallops, and all that sort of stuff. But they do need to. You do need them showing that sort of stuff, but they do need to prove it again when it comes into the Derby class, because you might be coming up against a dog that has no chance of winning the Derby, but has shown unbelievable early pace and cuts in at the bin or does whatever else. So there's lots of factors involved. But I think I'd be with you in that sense. I think the young brigade is going to prove itself to be exceptionally good. I think it is. And I would definitely be with you on a younger dog, a first season Greyhound win the Derby this year. And just on Derby winners, Gunnar Kobe ran a cracker. And he's got.
Oh yeah, we never mentioned him. Yeah, we have to mention.
I have my own thoughts on whether he should be racing or what he should be doing, sprinting or whatever. The English Derby was a tough one, and he actually ran his heart out. To be fair to the dog, but he actually ran an exceptionally good race the other night in the first round of the sprint as well. So.
Got his ground taken off in the second he came out. The 2 dogs who won the race, it must be mentioned, the Pepper dog ran very, very well, but he stepped right from trap 2. And the other Kobe was sort of left with nowhere to go, had to steady himself, move in, and then try and get going again. And it didn't happen for him, but I'm sure there's plenty of flashy runs left in him. Joe, anything else to add? the young greyhounds coming through at present, they look very, very special indeed.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to talk about was with the calendar this year. I mean, there's been distinct changes to the calendar. Ballymax had 3 winners in Shelbourne the other night. They did no runners in the Ledger. For Liam has won it twice since 2019. Interesting that he doesn't have any runners in the Ledger, and it's getting me thinking: are certain trainers campaigning dogs in I guess a different way that they traditionally would?
You would imagine in previous years, like the likes of Ballymac Gizmo would have been racing in the Ledger. Instead, he ran at Shelbourne Park. I suspect it's due to the fact that it's going to clash with the Juvenile Derby as well. The Ledger's not just taking on, the Sprint Cup and taking on then the likes of Laurels. Like the Juvenile Derby this year is much earlier. So if you get the latter stages of the Ledger, you're basically out at the Juvenile Derby. And this is going to be the first year where the Juvenile Derby is held before the Derby. Like this could be acted almost like the Champion Stakes, and there will be men that'll decide to bypass the Juvenile Derby with a view to keeping the Derby in mind. But who's to say now that something like a Bocco's Diamond couldn't rock up in the Juvenile Derby, gain more experience around Shelbourne Park, and then straight into the Derby? Again, you mentioned House Martin and all those types of dogs, because it's earlier. It's also open to August whelps this year rather than September whelps. So all of a sudden there's a bigger pool there. The Juvenile Derby this year could easily be hotter than both the Ledger and the Laurels, and that's something worth keeping in mind.
But it is interesting, and as you said, when I see the victory of Ballymac Gizmo, as you said, and there's other greyhounds in that category who would say maybe are they bypassing the Ledger for, I guess, keeping them for the Derby later in the year.
Gizmo doesn't actually qualify for the Juvenile Derby, so he's July, but there will be dogs of that ilk, shall we say.
But it is strikingly different this year, I guess, with the calendar. So I think it's going to make for a very interesting and fresh Derby this year.
Yeah, Tommy, anything else to add?
No, I just even thought that you had crossed your mind the last few weeks as well about what Joe was saying. Even the Dundalk International, where you had Liam Dowling runner, Graham Holland runner, Paul Hennessy runner, you just lots of kennels you expect to have something there that might be involved in the Dundalk International. It's 20,000 to the winner.
I think the Graham Holland issue with the Dundalk International is, I think that's I'm not going to say a protest, but there is a problem there every year. Graham just says, no, I won't go into the international, but I'll run the sprint. I think it goes back to Clonbrine Hero days, but that's for another day and for a different forum. I want to, before I mention the Kasko Derby, the A1 Derby started at Curraheen Park on Saturday night, Tommy, and a well-known name, Churchtown Sid, was fastest. What a start he has been for the boys. He set the pace for Michael Crotty and Dennis Fitzgerald at 28:52. Curraheen is getting a good name for this type of competition, really competitive A1 competitions. There are 2 or 3 of them during the year, as well as the many open stakes that have been run down there at the moment, Tommy.
I would call this a great stake for locals. I don't necessarily mean that a local dog will win it, or local owner, local trainer, or whatever, but I mean for supporters of greyhound racing, people who go to Curraheen Park all the time, it's a great competition for them. There's plenty of money in it. You do attract dogs from all around the place. You get good quality, but you tend to get, because it's an A1, you tend to get dogs that they know very well in Curraheen Park, and it can be a really good one for punting. So from bookmaker point of view too, I would say it's a really good competition. It's continuing the theme that we've talked about for, at this stage now, quite some time. So it's no longer a running team. It's just the way it is. And they've put a lot of effort into getting good stakes and good money into the track, and they've put them in places so that the likes of the Kasko Derby, which exists a while, they sit in lovely and continue the theme of having good stakes and good money. And this I think Curraheen lacked this for quite a long time, and I think that the last couple of years have seen it's starting to be where it should be, stand where it should be. Whereas the likes of me and Barry and all these people who are around this area and would go to Curraheen Park or know the Curraheen Park dogs well, I think it's becoming more prominent for people around the country now. Now they're kind of sitting up and going, it's not just the Laurels I need to look at anymore. Like, they had a great stake one time in Macroom Motors. It was a brilliant stake for young dogs. Now we're filling the void that has been left by a lot of the stakes that aren't there. We're more than filling the void. We're creating new stakes, or they're creating new stakes in Curraheen Park. So kudos to everybody involved. It's really good, and long may it last.
I just want to read you a text that I got from Paul Lawrence on Sunday morning. Yeah, yesterday morning. Morning, pal. I've been watching Shelbourne for the last for the last few weeks. The quality of racing on Saturday night is incredible. I know the track is quick, but still looks top class racing. You must love going to work, you know. And my response was, it's a joy. And the last few weeks have been a little bit below par, believe it or not. Wait for another month, you know, when the real stuff starts again.
You were some
Park.
judge 27 something there for fun.
Yeah, no, but you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean? But it's gone to the stage where you could rock up at Shelbourne Park any Saturday night. You're guaranteed top class racing. It's gone
Should
that
be
way.
the case.
It's gone that way with Curraheen Park.
So yes, and there was a period in Shelbourne too that it wasn't so great for a while, and you had a lot of graded races coming in, creeping in, and they used to be the starting card.
That's what I was referring to. You know, in terms of there wasn't the big competitions on the Saturday nights for the last few weeks, so it's below par is the wrong terminology, but it hasn't been as hot as it would normally be at this time of year.
Relative, yeah, it's all relative. But like I was told years ago, there was no call for good racing in Curraheen Park. It's a phrase that never left me when it was said to me about 15 years ago, and I thought, hold on a second, this is the second biggest track in Ireland, supposedly, or third at the time, maybe when Harris Cross is around. Second biggest track in Ireland, and there wasn't a call for good racing. Yes, there was always a call for good racing, because that's what people want. That's what people would go to see. It is. It's like you said. Now, okay, it's like it's an A1 Derby, so it's still an A1 competition, and all that. But there's good money there. The locals will love it for many reasons, as I said, not just that they might have a chance to win it or whatever else, but it is attracting good dogs, and it is going in the right direction. It takes a lot of work to keep it there. It takes a lot of work to keep it there, but I do see, even with y'all, and I could spend all day and all night complaining about the way things are in y'all, and it's not down to the people who are running y'all. It's just the way the track has gone with the SAS stuff and all that, or whatever it is nowadays. I could spend all day giving out about it, but actually there is work being done to try to introduce stakes in there as well, good stakes again, because there was a time when Owen McKenna, say, for example, as a top trainer, used to come down to y'all for the unraced, or for what they had a champion stakes at the time. They had a Southern Oaks at the time, well, and Southern Sprint, exactly. Used to be that you'd see really good dogs, really top dogs coming down to y'all. That hasn't happened for a long time, and it's long overdue. So great to see. Hopefully it's filtering down. Shelbourne's done it and re-established itself where it should be. Curraheen Park is now getting to where it should have been all along. And hopefully it's filtering down, because there's definitely work being done in y'all as well for next year. So please God, that will work out too.
Yeah, Joe, just to end, did you ever see the film Field of Dreams?
No, never.
1989, Kevin Costner. It's well worth a look, right? But there's a famous line that he keeps hearing it. It's like a whisper, like a sort of celestial whisper. If you build it, they will come. You know, that's what happened with Limerick. If you build it, they will come. Well, I always say to racing managers, if they get the opportunity, if you put on the racing, they will come. If you put on the good racing, they will come. If you look at a card and you go, A4, A6, A7, 525, 525, 525, 525, you stick on a 750, a sprint, few open races, and finish the night with a good 575 or 600. I'll tell you one thing. Punters will make a habit of getting there. Okay, so if you put on the racing, they will come, Joe. Field of Dreams. That's your homework now for next week, right?
Very philosophical today, but I think it's a great, and we do need to be careful with bags racing. You know, we need competitions, we need stakes, we need sponsorship. You know, we can't settle for mediocrity. We need top class racing, and I wouldn't be in favour of the industry relying too much on bags racing.
It plays its part, but every track. What do we always say, Tommy? Every track should have a sense of occasion.
Don't exactly.
It does play its part. Don't get me wrong at all, and I mean it does have its value. But I think we need to be careful. I really do. We do need to be careful with it. We also need our competitions and our stakes, and we can't have an over reliance on bags to make it work. You know, we need people coming through the doors for these stakes. We need people spending money in the bars, in the restaurants, and we need the attendances as well to rely on that as well, rather than just the bags. But although it does play a valuable role, and it has been quite helpful for many tracks, don't get me wrong, but we also need to be careful about not over relying on the bags, I would say, as well.
Are you taking out the guitar and Ledger final night?
Oh yeah, the Joe Show will be live August 17th, straight after racing, folks. Make sure
if you strum us, they will come, Tommy. If you strum it, they will come.
Well, in my case, if any people run away when I start playing, but look, we'll keep bluffing away. Are you coming down that night, Fortune?
I doubt it, but we'll see. You never know. We'll never know. Depends on Barry Call's availability. Listen, lads,
Barry's their taxi driver.
a pleasure as always. I think we can safely say we're looking forward to the second round action in both the willwecome.com Irish Saint Ledger or the Barwon Racing Irish Sprint Cup. Two wonderful competitions. Great action at Shelbourne Park coming up as well. And again, the Kasko Derby continues at Curraheen Park. Loads to look forward to. Get to the track. If you build it, you should go. That's it, though, for us on this Talking Dogs on a Monday. We'll see you next time. My thanks again to the Joe Show, Joe Sheahan, and of course, the exiled one, Tommy Lyons. We'll see you in 7 days' time. Good luck, good evening, God bless.